Call this meeting to order at 7:07 p.m. This is a work session meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale, Tuesday, March 4th, 2014. I'd ask if everyone could please rise to salute our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Denton.
Here.
Councilmember Giassi. Costa.
Here.
D'Amato.
Here.
Delavetter.
Here.
Hudson. Here. Sondemire.
Here. Also with us, Jay McCarthy, our municipal clerk, and our borough attorney, Fred Semra. This is an official meeting of the governing body of the Borough of Bloomingdale on January 4th, 2014. The date, time, and place of this official meeting was faxed and mailed to all local news media and posted here at Borough Hall. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening and thank you for attending. We have a few presentations this evening, and just so everyone can follow the agenda, first will be a presentation by the Board of Education regarding the referendum that will be voted on March 11th. Then we have a presentation on our Rose Fund distribution for 2014 and a public hearing on the Walter T. Bergen walking track. So I'll lead right into a presentation with the Bloomingdale Board of Education. I'd like to welcome everyone here. President of the board, Lauren Greco. Actually, Lauren, if you just introduce the board members that are here, and our superintendent, Frank, and our administrative director. Thank you. Floor is yours.
Yes, as Mayor Dunley said, I'm Lauren Greco, board president, and with us this evening we have Mr. George Hagel, our business administrator and board secretary, Mr. John Tuch, who is a board member. Our interim superintendent is Mr. Frank Leone, and board member Mike Moeller, who's also chairperson of our finance, fiscal plan, and transportation committee. On behalf of the board, Mr. Leone, Mr. Hagel, and myself, I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for allowing us the opportunity to come here tonight to talk to you all, as well as the taxpayers, about the March 11th upcoming referendum. I'm hoping that all of you in this room have received in the mail this pamphlet from the Board of Education. Did everybody get this?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. I hope you took the time to, open it up and kind of familiarize yourself with what this capital project referendum entails. As the mayor said, on March 11th, next Tuesday, between the hours of 2 and 9 p.m., the Board of Education is holding this referendum. And what separates this referendum from the referendum that the board tried to float several years ago is that we have gotten a ROD grant from the state of New Jersey, and that's a regular operating district grant. And that grant from the state is giving us 40% of state funds to be used towards the work in our district. I can't express it enough how important it is to get a grant, as you all know, council members and Mr. Mayor. For the residents, the state of New Jersey does not give the Bloomingdale School District a lot of state aid. And for us to get a grant like this is extremely flattering and important to the school district. The work that we're looking to do, it's a $1.3 million job. And Mr. Hagel in a few minutes is going to go into greater detail of what that work is. But we are getting 40% of that $1.3 million, $506,000 we're getting. We need, as taxpayers, to make up the other 60% of that money. This referendum is important because should this referendum not pass next Tuesday, March 11th, then what would happen is perhaps 100% of this project would fall on the shoulders of the taxpayers, as opposed to 60% getting that 40% grant money. We would be throwing that money out the window. So that's why I want to impress it upon all of us in this room how important it is to take advantage of this state grant money. The work that's being done in this referendum project, this capital project, is addressing health and safety issues in our schools. It is addressing, trying to have the least impact on the taxpayers in our town. It's addressing energy savings cost, as well as updating our school facilities with physical handicap accessibility in the schools. So again, I thank you for coming here. I thank you for your attention. I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Hagel to do the PowerPoint. Once we're through the PowerPoint, at any time, if anyone has any questions from up on the dais or, in the audience, please feel free to ask, because now's the time before this important vote. Thank you.
Thank you. George?
As Mrs. Greco said, our upcoming referendum will be this Tuesday, March 11th. The polls will be open from 2 to 9. The referendum project is going to seek to replace the boilers at the Martha B. Day School and at the Walter T. Bergen School. It also is going to replace, or should I say, enhance security lighting at the Martha B. Day School, address some barrier-free projects, ADA work at the Martha B. Day School, and masonry work and stair repair at the Martha B. Day School. It also will enhance the security lighting around the Walter T. Bergen School. The total cost of the project is going to be estimated to be $1,341,950, of which we will be receiving $536,780 in the form of ROD grants, leaving a local share of $805,170. Our financial advisory group, Phoenix Financial Advisors, have prepared this amortization chart here to show what the bond cost would be over a period of an 11-year amortization period. The borrowing cost will be estimated to be 3.3%. The average home that is assessed in Bloomingdale is $254,000. That average assessed home would experience a $27.89 increase per year. Basically, the $27 a year increase would amount to less than 8 cents a day for the average assessed home. Now, as part of the boiler replacements at the Walter T. Bergen School and the Martha B. Day School, the Walter T. Bergen School has 1 boiler, the Martha B. Day School has 2 boilers. Our engineering firm, Land Associates, had developed this energy savings estimate. The Martha B. Day School is estimated to save $2,978 as opposed to the Walter T. Bergen School, which is estimated to save nearly $25,000. The average energy savings would be $27,860. Many of you may be asking why the big difference between the schools. Presently, the Martha B. Day School has 2 boilers. They are original boilers dating back to 1962 when the building was built. The Walter T. Bergen Schools also has an original boiler, which is 1972 when the building was built. There is 1 very large boiler system there. On mild days where it does not call for very strong heating, we are forced to fire a very large boiler, being very energy inefficient, whereas by the Martha B. Day School, we can only run 1 boiler and alternate between the boilers. The Walter T. Bergen School would also receive multiple boiler units, so if 1 unit were to go down, there would be a redundancy in a backup unit. Right now, we have no backup. If the 1 boiler fails, there is no heat in the building. Taking the estimated cost savings, which would be $27,860 a year over the course of 11 years, you come up with $306,460. The estimated bond cost, the interest charges over that 11-year period, will be $175,855. If you offset the bond cost by the energy savings, you can see over the course of the 11 years we're anticipating savings to the taxpayer of $130,605, which will be amounts that could be reduced on our annual budget from our energy costs. Here's a picture of the Martha B. Day School boiler systems. All the piping that you see above in white is all asbestos piping. All that asbestos will be removed. Presently, it is being monitored by our engineering firm, RK Environmental. They do every 6-month analysis on the asbestos pipe wrapping, as well as any other containing asbestos material within our buildings to make sure that it has not become friable. If it does, we do call in contractors. If there are leaks, which we've had in the past, along these valves. They've become corroded over the many years of service. We had a glove bag removal, and then it allows our boiler service personnel to replace those valves in those areas. Here's a close-up of one of the boilers at the Martha B. Day School. You can see we've had some refractory brickwork done in the past. The boiler had been cut open on the side. The brickwork had been replaced. That was done approximately 12 or 15 years ago. As you can see, the boiler is not in the greatest shape anymore. All these pipe elbows that you see up here are asbestos pipe wrap. This is the one single boiler unit, as I mentioned, at the Walter T. Bergen School. Again, it is the original boiler. It has a side view of it. Again, all the white elbows that you see here is also asbestos. That would all be removed as part of the project. Martha B. Day School, the rear door that leads to the basketball court area where people go to sleigh ride in the back. You can see the stairs is all crumbling here. These stairs will be removed and the staircases will be there, doing away with the tripping hazard for the children. Here's a close-up of the stairs. Next to the stairs to the left, you can see the masonry is becoming very deteriorated and crumbling. That will be upgraded, as well as these joints here will be rejointed or repointing. You can also see that there's holes in the wall, which will be addressed also as part of this project. At the Martha B. Day School, if you're in front of the building, looking to your right, there's the first classroom there. That is the preschool disabled classroom. On the side of the building, there is a handicap ramp which does not meet ADA compliance right now. You can see how narrow that rampway is. There is a doorway up on the right-hand corner of the picture there that leads into the classroom. There's a vestibule in the inside with a bathroom to the side, and then there's another entrance going into the classroom. Very difficult to swing a child around in a wheelchair to enter the building. That's a view from the inside looking out. That's a view from coming into the building, coming around, having to open up this door to allow a child in. Basically, it is a three-person, at least a two-person job to allow a child to get into the building right now. That would all be opened up as part of this project to make the building more accessible to handicapped people. The benefits of the referendum, obviously, is to enhance the safety of the building. We will be making Martha B. Day School more accessible to handicapped persons. And the state presently has $536,780, which has been approved for this project for us. And we will be realizing a net tax savings of $130,000 over the course of 11 years if we get approval on this project. Now, I have a little red asterisk here, and it's very important to note that these funds are only available for 18 months from the date of the approval letters. We received the approval letters in January of 2014. We're in the month of March now, so the clock has been ticking. We only have 16 months presently to secure funding for the local share. If we do not get our funding set aside and approvals or have the money set aside for this within 16 months, that grant will go away. We will lose this grant. Polling hours, as Mrs. Greco said, and time and date is March 11th, next Tuesday. Polls will be open from 2 to 9 p.m. The locations are the same as the municipal election. They're indicated on the slide presentation. We have a little page here that just says the power of one, how important it is to get out there and vote. Every vote counts, and we give little examples of people getting elected into offices by one vote. We ask that you take all this into consideration. This PowerPoint presentation, as well as much of the information on the referendum, is available on our Bloomingdale website. Any information there you can access by just going on the website and clicking on the link for the referendum. If you have any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them at this time, or feel free to call either myself or Mr. Buglione at the Board of Ed, and we'll be happy to address those questions to you. Also, Thursday evening, starting at 6:30 at the Martha B. Day School, we are having a walkthrough, so anybody interested in seeing this in person is welcome to join us. We will going to start at Martha B. Day School at 6:30. We will continue to the Walter T. Bergen School at 7:30, and then we will then look at the boiler systems and what is being replaced around the school there. And then again, if you wish to look at this or have any questions at that time, we'd be happy to answer. This time I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Buglione. I'm sure he'd like to say a few words.
The board's did a very good job. I think you said it well. The board worked very hard on this. Since, I think in October of 2012, we looked at a variety of projects, and we were trying to go after state money to do a lot more in the schools. These projects really are not educational. They're all health and safety. We looked at really upgrading our science room facilities at the middle school. We wanted to do more. Those rooms go back to 1971. The world has changed a great deal since 1971. We have students now who are going to all of these choice high schools, and a lot of the programs are science, technology oriented. Jobs of the future will be in those areas, and we want more and more of our students to take part in that. But we held back on that because we know that economically it's not a good time to be asking the voters really for any more money. So we have to balance the needs of the students with those of the community, and I think the board worked really very hard to do that and to bring this in very modestly. Their goal was under $50, and we got it under $30 to $27, and it's really less than $27 when you factor in the energy savings over the course of the 11 years of the bond. So I think it's reasonable. I think it's doable. If we don't pay for the boilers now and only pay 60%, we're going to pay 100% down the road, because eventually they're going to go, and the disruption to the educational process is going to be tremendous, because we're going to have to relocate children to another school, may have to go on split sessions. So we want to avoid that happening. Most schools have 2 boilers, because when one goes down, you have another, and you can balance it, so that on a real cold day, they're both going. It's very unusual that a school was built with only 1 boiler, and that's the situation we're in, and we want to avoid that. The boilers are also modular in style, so that if you do add on to the buildings in years to come, if we decide to close one of the schools and add on to the others, you can do that with a modular design of the boiler. So that can be done to accommodate any kind of future growth of the building. So we're hopeful. We'll see what happens. But I encourage everybody to come out, have your voice heard, and to vote on the 11th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Anyone from the public? And I'd ask you to just come up, state your name and address for the record, and then anyone from the dais as well. And direct a question that George, I guess.
Jim Harding, 102 Red Creek Trail. During your presentation, I thought you said you had 18 months from when it was from last January, when I guess it was first submitted. But then I thought you also said 16 months at the end, and I just want to get clarification.
It's 18 months from the date of the approval letters. We received the approval letters in January. So from January, we had 18 months out to secure the
It only
funding.
gives you till roughly July or something like that of this year.
Of
So
the
that
following
means you
year.
have to get
Following
the...
January 14th this year.
18 just passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Good. I was thinking you only had a couple of months, and I was just going to say, is that going to be tight?
where the 16 months kicks in is we only have the referendum next week, so we are already 2 months into the approval
Yeah,
cycle.
okay.
So we only have 16 months left.
Very good. Thank you.
16 months to award a contract or 7 months?
16 months to secure the money, and the funds for our projects.
And what, that's
To make a guarantee to the State Department of Education that we've secured the funding.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Stephen Woody, Glenwald Avenue. Walter B. Bergen School, what kind of security lighting are you thinking about putting in?
Just outside floodlights.
In the back?
You have enough baseball lights there. They're on till 10 o'clock at night.
Not all the time, and they're not on the weekend, so there would be more.
Excuse me?
I guess you live there and you're...
Yes, I do, sir.
You can sunbathe in our living room.
Okay, the questions are about the referendum,
Well, the security lights are part of the
Okay,
referendum.
but that doesn't do with the field lights.
Right, I understand
All
that.
right, so let's,
Just, you know, are they putting them up on big pole lights?
No, it would be on the buildings, and it would be shining down towards the side of the building. It wouldn't be shining up and towards the houses.
thank you. Anyone else, please? Anyone from the dais? Any questions?
When will this $27 hit our tax? This year or next year?
After the bonds are secured, it probably would be, it wouldn't be in this budget cycle, it would be the following budget cycle next year.
And then at the end of the 11 years, does the taxes go back down? 30 years?
Well, you wouldn't be paying the bond cost, so
That's I guess my question. So it would then,
it's paid off.
so it's 11 year, $30 hit, then goes plus this each 300.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, Jack Miller, Revap. When we were going through the pilot program, they were talking about there was $1 million in surplus in the Board of Ed. Why are you guys coming for us for a referendum to get money when you have a surplus of this amount of money? Why wouldn't you use that?
We don't have $1 million in surplus.
So that was false, when we heard that.
We have as of July 1st, we had $795,000 of unreserved fund balance, which represents approximately 2% of our budget.
Okay, so 700, so you're looking for 800. Why are you coming back to the taxpayers for that under 100 and some thousand?
Well, to have no reserve at all or no fund balance at all, everybody, I believe, has a savings account or bank account, and I know, like everybody else, everybody's savings account is dwindling this year, in particular with the heating costs that everybody's experiencing. But you do need to have some reserve money or monies in the events of emergencies. You have to plan, and any monies that we have by law greater than 2% have to be given back to the taxpayers on an annual basis through the budget process. So if we gain more surplus, greater than 2% of our budget, by law, it has to be given back to the taxpayers in the form of tax relief. There are other projects that we did apply for as part of this ROD grants that really need to be addressed that unfortunately the state has decided not to address or not to fund statewide, not just to Bloomingdale, but statewide. In particular, lighting projects. They will not fund any lighting projects through the ROD grants. We weren't given clarification why you're not doing it. It was a level 1 project going into the grant application. They assigned levels to all these different programs. The science labs were supposed to be a level 1. The lighting projects were supposed to be a level 1. Then all of a sudden they changed the criteria and moved the goalpost on us. And they became level 2s. They decided not to fund those types of projects. The lighting project is something that's really going to have to be addressed very soon, and the board needs to reserve some monies to address that as well in the very near future, because all those lighting fixtures in the Walter T. Bergen School and the Samuel O'Donnell School are all T12 light bulbs. T12 light bulbs are not going to be manufactured anymore. We're not going to be able to get those light bulbs. It's approximately a $350,000 per school project. About $700,000 that we're looking at, that we're going to need to spend to do those projects. So there always needs to be something in reserve. To bring your surplus down to zero is extremely foolish. There's
Understood, but you're gonna gain now. You're going 18 months out, so you're saying till next July. So you're gonna go through a whole nother tax season. You're gonna go through another surplus of money that you're gonna get from the taxpayers, correct?
No, not necessarily. If
No?
there is additional surplus, they would then be surplus that would be brought back as tax relief to the taxpayers.
But there's always gonna be money there. Like you're saying, there's a reserve that's always gonna be there.
We do have some surplus, correct?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Wayne Tierney, 21 Highland Road. I just want to understand, the 2789, is that based on the house value of 200?
Yes, it is.
So if your house is valued
If your
at
house is,
300,
if
then
your
that
house is
amount goes
assessed,
up?
if your house is double that value, it's double that
So it's really
cost.
not 2789 for everybody. It's only if your house is valued, or could it go down if your house is valued?
If your house is valued less, it will be
So
less.
that's what I'm saying. So the 27 is a medium? is what you're coming
It's
out
the,
to?
no, the 27 is the average house assessment in this town.
But anybody who has house value over that is going to get a higher, so if I
That's-
say
that's
10.5, be 10.5, maybe $40.
Correct.
Okay, and that's going to stay that way, and if I do any capital improvements, that means that number could go up?
If you
and I
tax,
agree
if
with
you
that?
tax those capital improvements, yes, it would go up.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing I do want to say is that, and, you know, I do have mixed feelings about this. I mean, both my girls went to these schools, they did very well. But if you're going to do this referendum, and you need to get that 40 or 50,000 or 500, whatever, I don't think you've gone out enough to publicize how important that is. I know everybody gets the information, the first thing everybody says, oh, more tax increases. But I don't think anybody tells here tonight how important that offsets the actual amount. Now, we're here, we understand that, but I think emails should go out. I'm going to be more than happy to send emails out to some of my friends and just say, you gotta go, or you're looking at another increase. But there's got to be more communication. I did get that, I read it, but there's going to be more going out between now and the 11th.
We did have a board meeting last night, and we did do a presentation. Mr. Hagel, myself, Mr. Buglione, we've gone to the Recreation Committee, we've spoken to them. Last Tuesday, Mr. Buglione and I went down to the Senior Center, and we did a presentation for them. The PTA we've gone to, as Mr. Hagel had said earlier, we are doing the open house on Thursday night, and we encourage people if they would like to come and get a first-hand look at what this work is. We are going to be doing a Swift Reach phone call, and that would be coming out on Monday evening, just reminding people, you know, simply come out and vote between the
But I
hours.
think the importance is that offset. Because
Right.
sitting here tonight, I realize it's a major impact to keep this at that 27 wherever you need to be. I don't think anybody understands that because if you lose it, and you're not going to see that until what, the end of this year? Now, if this doesn't pass, can you go for another referendum?
We
Until
could.
you keep going and hopefully
We could.
until you get it? Is that the objective here?
We could. I don't know what the objective is. We're hoping for the best on
No, I understand that, but
Tuesday.
if something didn't pass now, and we could still go out and communicate that you need to do this, we still have time.
You still have that opportunity, but keep in mind, every time you run a referendum, there's costs involved with that. We've already incurred legal costs. The financial advisory group, the Phoenix Financial Advisory, they did us a very big favor. They're very optimistic that this will pass. So they did not charge us for any work they've done up to now. It is contingent upon this referendum passing that they will get a fee. If it does not pass, they will not collect any money from us whatsoever. We did have some legal costs, some minor accounting costs that went along with it. Obviously, we're going to incur the cost of the use of the voting machines and the election workers. So the quicker we could get this done and make sure that the funds are secured and notify the Department of Education, the better it is for us because there's less time involved and we can start planning for doing the projects as opposed to chasing after the money again. Also, just for a point, because you brought up the $254,000, it's not a dollar amount that we came up with for the average assessed home, just so you know that. That is a number that's developed by the County Board of Taxation, and in Bloomingdale, the average assessed home is $254,000. So it isn't a number that we
No,
just...
but I just wanted to
for publication
understand, if
purposes.
someone's valued at 3 or 350, their
Correct.
amount is not 27.
That's correct,
I don't
and somebody
wanna
that's valued
tell
at
people
200,
that I
it
know.
will be less than that.
Yeah,
So
okay.
That's
All
good.
right.
But to your point, Maureen, if the referendum was to fail and the grant money was not to be had,
No, John, I understand that.
and they had to raise it
Right.
through the general budget in 2017, you know, you're going to pay more than the 27 or whatever that number is based on your assessed value. So that's the most important point.
No, I agree with you.
Of course, more than one. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Stephen Whitty, Glenwald Avenue again. This year alone, between the two schools, how many times did the boilers go down?
We had a problem with the Walter T. Bergen School once, and we've had some small problems with the Martha B. Day School. We've been fortunate, and they have been running.
Can you, let's say on average over the last 2 years, Have there been any major cost factors?
We've had some, nothing major has happened up to now yet. If I can give you an example, and I know some people are going to say, well, you can make those boilers go a couple more years. Well, maybe we could. They may last another year, they may last another 5, they may last another 1 year. Nobody has a crystal ball, we can't do that prediction. I joined the Bloomingdale Board of Education in 1995. One of the hot topics of discussion back then was we need to replace the boilers at the Samuel O'Donnell School. One of the boilers, their boiler system was set up really goofy because it's so many additions on that building. There's a part that's the turn of the 19th century. There's another part that is 1928. There's another part that's 1938. And the gymnasium in the bottom end is 1957. So the boiler system, rather than the 2 boilers that we had, being able to run one boiler that would control the whole school and alternate the boilers for redundancies, you had one boiler that controlled part of the school. You had another boiler that controlled the other part of the school. The one boiler that was into air was from 1937. It was a coal-fired furnace that got converted into oil-fired and was encased in asbestos. It had an asbestos wrap around it. The other one was from 1957. So every year when we developed the budget, we said we really need to get new boilers for the Samuel O'Donnell School. And every year it got put off because of the impact on taxpayers, which is understandable. Taxes in Bloomingdale are high. We all realize that. So it got put off until one year, one day, the boiler, one of them failed and filled up the building with smoke. The children had to be evacuated. They were brought up to the Walter T. Bergen School for the day. Jordan Transportation was wonderful. They got buses up there right away. They helped with the evacuation. They brought the kids to the Walter T. Bergen School and consolidated and left the children there for the day. We got some emergency boiler services. We got the boilers back up and running. But that year became a priority because everybody realized, hey, we can't let this go any further. I think the board is being very prudent and they're being proactive here and trying to not let a situation like that happen again. Rather than waiting for failure to happen, we're looking to get ahead of it. We'll also be encouraging some energy savings as well. And again, nobody has a crystal ball. We've had some sporadic problems with them. They may work for a few more years, and hopefully, you know, we can secure this money and take advantage of the 40% funding. Because if somebody was giving me 40% on the dollar, I would be doing more home improvements on my house too. And that's basically what the Board of Education is doing.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Jerome Kearns, Union Avenue. I apologize if my questions are a little silly. This is all new to me, but just to piggyback the gentleman's question in the front, is there a minimum reserve surplus that must be held?
There is no minimum, no. Anybody running a wise financial house, you want to reserve as much money as humanly possible for the event of any problems. As you can see, the boiler systems are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. If there's some sort of failure, you want that kind of money around that you can cover some of these costs. The board has to start planning, as I mentioned before, for these lighting projects. It's critical that we get those replaced. We did purchase some extra supplies of T12 light bulbs right now to get us through a time period where we may not be able to secure funding to move ahead with those projects. But the monies need to be reserved for addressing that as well. It's not something we want to go back to the taxpayers again and say, we just did a referendum now we want you to support us for another referendum to do a lighting project. We're going to try to put some monies aside for those projects and not trying to go back to you again for a referendum on those lighting projects.
And so our current surplus is around $700,000, is that correct?
As of July 1, it was 700.
What has been roughly the average surplus each year?
It's been around that area.
Okay.
And we try to maintain about a 2%. Once upon a time, boards of education were allowed to keep up to 6% surplus, but as the years went on, there's been some legislation that's knocked it down further and further all the time and seeking greater and greater tax relief.
And what's required for, to piggyback her question over here, what's required for the referendum to pass as far as voting?
Majority vote.
Okay.
Simple majority.
Okay.
And one vote, as we have in the slide.
Okay. And my last question, and this might be more appropriately addressed for the attorney. Are commercial sponsorships or any kind of commercial donations or things like that, are we able to apply those at all to school costs or for renovations and things like that? Or can we reach out to local businesses to offset some of these costs to the residential taxpayers?
Donations, I believe, could be used as a local share, but I think we have to be very careful, and it'd be something I would have to research through our bonding council, because one of the conditions of the ROD grant, ironically, is that you're receiving no other grants for this project. So in other words, it was a sole source grant. Would a donation count as that? I'm not too sure, and I would have to get a legal opinion on that. It is a good question, though.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully there's somebody around that would be willing to give us $800,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dave Wackelhurst, 101 Natalie Court. George, how are you?
Good, sir.
I got your kind of a two-point question I have. First one is, I think, for the sake of transparency, your notation about the $27.89 per year, you should have included the assessed value of a home along with that figure. To your point, I think people would appreciate and calculate for themselves the impact they're going to have on their own finances. So just to put that number of $27.89 out there per year, on this sheet here, this handout we don't have, that it's based on the assessment.
No, it's there. Right there.
Yes, well, if you look at this copy,
On the back page of that.
that's really, you can't read that. So what I'm going by is this PowerPoint presentation here. Think about it, for an average increase, you can read that down? Exactly, so my point being, well, we can all see this one here right below, very clear and succinct. So I think, by stating that, you should have also included on the basic, on your assessed value. That's number one. Number two, you brought up your point about their surplus. I think every good homeowner has some sort of surplus in the savings. But if you have a $700,000 surplus, which is a fair amount of money, and you're going out for an $800,000 referendum, I think for the taxpayers, to show good faith, because we've been pretty beat up with taxes, if you were to use half of your surplus and go out for a $400,000 or $500,000 referendum, I think you might get a little bit more from the taxpayers. I think they're tired of always taking on the total bill, so if you were to give a little, you might get a lot. That's just my personal opinion. To utilize some of that surplus. And now, just bear with me, as we go forward, you can then continue to accumulate more surplus as you go along. But for the sake of this referendum, my personal opinion, if you would use some of that and go out for less of a referendum, I think you'd probably have much more success, particularly along with the seniors and so forth who are on fixed incomes.
Okay, I think everybody appreciates that. We do have the assessed value there. This chart is a copy, just let me finish.
Yeah.
This chart is a copy job from our financial advisors. So if it came out on the shrunk version of the handouts, we apologize. I mean, we weren't trying to save paper, though.
Understand.
As opposed to making a full slide chart and
Understand.
some more trees. But it is on there. You can see it more clear on our website if you care to go to our website. As far as the surplus is concerned, you're going to get the money back one way or another, whether it's in the referendum or during the budget process. It's something that the board, once we develop our budget for the upcoming school year, we have to take a look at our present standing. When we have made that determination, that funds can go back towards the taxpayers in the form of tax relief there as well.
We've heard the term tax relief many, many times in this town, and I think I can speak for a lot of folks here. We really don't see it. Because any kind of relief we get, taxes just continue to go up. There's always going to be an increase. Expenses go up. So I think the term tax relief is used a little too freely. So, but I respect that. I appreciate it. I don't necessarily buy into it. And that's just, I just wanted to ask you about the surplus, and if you consider utilizing some of it to help tax relief of the taxpayers.
Well, the board will be considering that as they develop.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yes, I could really tune this on strangely. If I could interject there, because you were talking about the full nut and how much is in surplus and stuff like that. I had asked George previously for a copy of the long-range facility plan, which is from 2005. Some of it is completed, but basically what is left, which is basically the long-range plan of what needs to be done in the schools, totals about $7 million more work in the schools, and those are $2005. So You know, obviously, while $700,000 does sound like a lot compared to the $7 million more that has to be done, and this doesn't include the $300,000 for the lighting project. It's only like $30,000 here at the time. You know, you see how much a bigger nut there is to crack. That $700,000 is not a big, significant, it's not going to take a big chunk out of what needs to be done. So I just wanted to point that out.
A couple of recommendations. One, let's post that on the website so we all know what's coming up, right? We have no idea how much more expense is coming up. So it would be very helpful if we can all go and download the list of projects that the schools need to get done, right? So this way when we see a $1.3 million expenditure, we don't just look at it and go, here we go again, right?
Right. Well, right, let me just say, I mean, I had to get this from George because it hasn't been updated since 2005.
It's a 2005, and it's scheduled to be updated again. The state has not required that document, the long-range facility plan, to be updated since 2005, but they are requiring it to be updated this fall. So there's going to be a new engineering analysis that has to be done to come up with the latest list, and it will obviously omit projects, and I think Rich has done the manual calculation to take out the projects that have already been done, but it will update it to address the needs of the projects that have not been done, update the costs as well as any new projects that are required. So it'll probably be this time next year by the time the document is going to be completed and updated. But to your point, I think that is a good point to be made, to have the long-range facility plan as a tab on our website to make people in the community aware of what the school's needs are, projected out from the next 5 years projection as well.
And if you have rough estimates on numbers, you know, it would be good to know, because it's very useful to know, hey, there's $7 or $8 or $10 million worth of projects, this is only 1/10 of it.
Exactly.
And
To put it
that's
on
why
at
we
this
have
point,
a
though,
surplus.
it's sort of a dated type of thing, because there are projects that are listed there that the Board of Ed has completed already. And to put the false image out there that we're still looking to do that, I think, wouldn't be quite right, I think.
Agreed, yeah, it would have to be an updated version of that. And then the second recommendation would be coming to next year's budget process as you're going through it, and if there's any surplus left at that point, be mindful of the fact that there's an $89,000 increase into your budget, and see if you can fund that through your surplus rather than, you know, taking it to the cap. So bring your tax increase, $89,000 below cap, would essentially give us the $30 back. So it'd be a free referendum to us. Okay, so in other words, we're spending this year, we're not really getting taxed on it until next year, and if they bring the budget $89,000 under, this $89,000 that's being charged, it's as if they took their budget to cap. Understood?
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking about...
sorry.
Talking to me? So just be mindful of that. And
the board is always mindful in looking at the needs. When we develop our budget, it isn't just based on, oh, this is what we had last year, let's increase it another 2% just because we can. We look at every line item. We try to develop a zero-based budget model where we look at the actual cost of everything that people are requesting and students' needs. At that time, there's some areas, obviously, that you can't project out that accurately, so we look at a sort of a historic type of evaluation on those lines. For instance, the energy cost and what our energy consumption has been over the years, and those are the kind of numbers that we would project going forward. So if you're looking at our detailed line item appropriation, sometimes you see big swings in the certain lines up or down. You know, 25, 30%, you say, hey, what's going on here? Well, we reduced that line 25% because we found we really didn't need 25% more. But honestly, we need 25% more in this other line. So that's why you'll see sometimes erratic changes, because the budget is built on the true needs. And I think board members are not just board members, they're also residents and the taxpayers. So they are just as concerned about their own taxes as everybody else in this room is.
Anyone else? Anyone else? All right. Well, to the board, Mr. Superintendent, Mr. Administrator, thank you so much for coming tonight. And let's give a round of applause for being here. Again, the vote is a week from tonight for your homework. And local townships, then we'll take a 2-minute recess. Okay, we're going to resume at 7:58. Before we go on, I'm going to switch the agenda. We're going to do the Walter T. Bergen public hearing on the track, and then the Rose Fund. But before we do that, and I meant to run upstairs, I didn't want to be rude when the Board of Ed was still here. I wanted to show you my favorite map. That's probably my favorite map, and the information I'm going to disclose. We have high taxes. No one disputes that. We have high sewer and water rates for those who pay sewer and water. No one disputes that. And it's not because the Board of Ed is overcharging you. It's not because the governing body, the Borough of Bloomingdale, is overcharging you. It's not because sewer and water is charging you more than we're paying for wholesale water or the cost of us processing our sewer. Bloomingdale rates are high because everything you see on this map that is green or pink brings no taxes. It's open space. So 53% of our town isn't taxed. And 94% is residential tax. So of all the bills we pay, 94% of it is on our dime, the homeowners, because our commercial base is so little. But all that green, Northern Green State Forest, Salvation Army in the brown, I forgot, and this is Federal Hill, currently brings 0 taxes to the borough. Now, I like green. I like that we have a lot of green in town. It adds character to Bloomingdale, no question about it. But we're paying for it. We're paying for it. Now, if you do an analysis, you take our town, and let's say this was a map of Butler. Well, this whole thing would look like this, all developed. Now, I don't think I want that. But even if a third of it was like this, your bills would be a third less than what you're paying. If you had 2,000 more sewer users, which is what we have, about 2,200 sewer water users, we have 2,700 taxable entities in town. About 2,500 homes and about 200 industrial or commercial, county apartment buildings. Again, if you were to have 2,000 more, you'd be paying half of what you're paying today on utility bills. If you have friends in Clifton, like I have family in Clifton, my brother's quarterly bill is $30 for sewer and water. Ours is what, 300 bucks? More. Because there's 90,000 residents, all on sewer and water in a town like Clifton, sharing that bill. And that just doesn't happen here. So I preached for a long time, expenses really isn't our problem, revenue is our problem. And, you know, it was the planning for years. This goes back to the 70s when this was saved, and the Brown was in the 70s when it sold Salvation Army. So, you know, the answer is continued fiscal responsibility, which, you know, I think both parties, Board of Ed, municipal brings, because, you know, those, you know, who serve on the budget committee, some of the audience, you know, we run a tight ship. But when half your land doesn't bring revenue, half, you're going to affect the tax rate. That's exactly why our taxes are high. Just like to point it out. I don't know if everyone, maybe I bored you, maybe you knew this, but it's a real big part of Bloomingdale's, I don't want to call it a problem, but the reason our taxes are high. And there is an answer. The answer is revenue. And, you know, the only place really we have left to do that is Union Ave corridor, which is, you know, things we're looking to do. Avalon Bay is going to help. You know, whether people are like, I don't like those apartments on that. Okay, I get that. But it's bringing in $475,000 of revenue to the borough. That's going to help. It added 300 more users to 178 more users to our utility. It's all going to help. So, continue smart growth on Union. Zoning was put in place to try to make it more attractive. Federal Hill, there's talks now with Tilcon of doing something on Federal Hill. That's going to bring a lot of revenue to the borough. And those are the answers to, you know, stop the bleeding, or at least stop it where it is. I'll never say I'm going to reduce your taxes, but at least stop what we've been facing. I looked at my tax bill. I bought my house in 1990. You know, my taxes haven't quite tripled, but pretty damn close from when I've been here. And, you know, granted, salaries go up, pensions go up, health insurance goes up, all that. And, but our revenue hasn't at all, except through taxation to pay that bill. So, again, it doesn't make it any less painless, but that's the fact. All, you know, 53% of our land. You know, I just think if people understood that, doesn't make it any easier, but makes you kind of understand that a little bit. And bring more revenue, it's only going to help us all. So, I don't know, I just think it's important people at least understand that part. With that said, I would like a motion to open the public hearing on the Walter T. Bergen application for a walking track. Who makes that motion?
Second.
All in favor? What we'll be doing is opening up for anyone wishing to have public comment. The borough submits annually an application to Passaic County, which in my little talk a moment ago, of your taxes, 52% is education, 28% is municipal, and roughly 20% is the county. So if you pay 10 grand, which you just figured out, 5,300 goes to the schools, 2,800 goes to the municipality, and 2,000 of that goes to the county. Well, every year we apply to the county for a recreation grant, and we have been successful every year. We were funded a lot of our park improvements, ball field improvements, most recently a restroom facility which will be built at the Bergen School, and the restoration of the Leisure Grandstand, which will begin this year as well, have all been funded by the county. This year we are to submit an application for $75,000 for a walking track at the Bergen School. So I want anyone who has questions, please ask them. Here's a map with a diagram. Now, at Bergen School, we can't get the perfect quarter-mile oval like you see at a high school track. We also, at this stage, can't get the rubberized track you also see at a high school because that's over $500,000. So what we're applying for is $75,000, which will give us an 8-foot wide macadam walking path with drainage and the base, which is the base you need ultimately for the high school kind of material track. So someday, if revenue becomes abundant or we win the lottery, we can always go back and make it the track I think a lot of us actually dreamed it to be, but none of us can justify that kind of money in today's market. So the $75,000 we're confident will be funded to give a walking track at the Bergen School with future potential, with additional grant money for exercise stations, maybe every 50 feet, where people can walk, stop, do push-ups, or you've seen them in parks where you exercise along your walking trail. So that's the plan behind it. And by the rules, we need to have a public hearing, so that's why we're here for this. The motion's on the table, and anyone wishing to speak, please come up and state your name and address for the record. So after all that, no one's here.
Kathy Dorsney, I'm on Pine Tree Road, 138. And I just have profound concerns about the lights. The lights without the leaves come right into our bedrooms. And the mayor's been very responsive, and I appreciate it. But there are times when I can't sleep, it's so bright. And it comes right in my office as well. I can't work in my office, it's really blinding. And sometimes it's 11 o'clock at night, and I think it would come down. But it really is intolerable. Another meeting on this.
Right. No, and I'd like to comment on that. Kathy, could you be there though? Could you just reach up, pull that mic towards you, so right between the tables? Just, okay. Thank you, Sean. The lights are new. The lights are new to us all, and they were first lit last year. And it was definitely overkill in the spring. They were on probably 7 days a week, 2 all hours. In the fall, we tried to bring a little more accountability to it, where I think we had them on just 4 nights a week, no Sundays. I think we did no Saturdays. I don't remember the exact schedule, but I look at Ray because he helped me program the ability to have control. So not everyone has control. It's now done by an app system where I believe there's only 4 people, myself being one of them, who has control to turn them on and off. We first went with the key system where any coach who may have lucked out with a key would just go and turn them on. And so those days are over. So we have learned a lot in the first year. I'm not saying we're done learning at all, but I know in the fall we tried to bring a lot more accountability to it with limited hours, off by 9:30, no weekends, which is the plan we're looking to bring to the spring and going forward. I don't think we're ever going to make everybody happy because they're going to be on a certain point, but I promise you we do respect those who live nearby. It went from pure darkness to Yankee Stadium, I get that entirely. It was voted on by the residents to do the bond ordinance to put the lights in. So we got to find that balance, and that's, believe me, what we're working on. And in the first year, last spring they went on in March, and they didn't go off until October. But September and October, we did bring some controls in place, probably not to everyone's liking, but it was just the beginning of trying to put those controls in place. I mean, I'm a firm believer on, Saturdays is enough daylight hours to play ball. You shouldn't need lights, so those are the kind of things we're trying to do. Sundays, you shouldn't be on at all. During the week, we've got to give some downtime, so, and time, there was times, it was 11 o'clock at night, 9-year-old girls playing softball on the field. What are you guys, crazy? So those days are over, and we're still trying to work it out. So I respect it, and we're working on it, not ignoring it, and I think the patrols ultimately will try to appease everyone best we can. Thank you.
Just a question, how far up Pine Tree Road?
We're right on the corner of Glenwell Ave and Pine Tree Road, so it's high enough up that they go right into our house.
The reasonable question is, the way Musco lighting is designed, and you're supposed to just, the lighting's supposed to be field.
Yeah.
It should even be dark in the parking lot.
Yeah, not at all. I could show you pictures.
I'm not debating, but my suggestion would be is we contact Musco.
Well, they
will come up here at night when it's lit.
Okay.
And say, what's wrong?
And I will. They were here,
Because they have the shields on.
since it's installed, they were here 6 times adjusting shields and all that, to your point, with meters and checking meters and all. And telling me it's where it needs to be. Now, my son had a scrimmage game down by, it was an odd field, I don't want to say parameters, it was like in the middle of the mall, it was his field.
Yes.
And Rich, you were with me, right? And the shields on that kept that light so defined that it was, the next field over was black as night because there was no bleeding. So, we're going to talk to Musco, and there was a Musco system. So they're telling me they're where they need to be. I agree with you, there's still some bleeding that I don't think should be there. So,
Musco, I hear it, bring it to your.
yeah, all part of the learning stage.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
There has to be extra
I
shielding.
mean, I've dealt with them just for little leagues, stuff like that, the parking lot, the outfield is black.
Yeah.
There too, or
Yeah.
so there's something.
Yes, all part of the learning curve. Yeah, lights on that field, they've only been, lit for 7 months, so we're all learning how to deal with it best.
Is there a plan or any anticipation that we be changing the lighting schedule for the track?
No, the addition of the track is not going to change, it's not going to add more lighting. If we decide lights are going to be 4 nights a week at these many hours, that's it.
Right, we're not going to try to.
Anyone who wishes to walk on the track when there's lights on, have to do it during those hours on a weekend or
Normally,
day.
there's also settings for walking.
You don't need as many on. That was the other thing, which coaches learned and we controlled. In the beginning, everyone was turning everything on. There's like 6 zones there. So if you have one soccer match going on in the cul-de-sac area, you can turn on 2 towers and everything else is very dim. So for a lot of the time last year, everything was lit because the fields were empty, so there's no need for that. So again, things we're learning. Yes, sir. Name and address.
Bob Marcus, Provost Lanes. Strongly in favor of this proposed walking path and your application. I speak as an individual, but I've also spoken with neighbors in Glenwild community, and all of whom are in favor of this. I think it's a great addition to the community's facilities.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir. Just say your name and address for the record, please.
John Sullivan, 121 Red Twig.
How are you, John?
1-5, Mayor. How are you?
Very well.
Spoke with you several times about the lights. I just wanted to reiterate what Kathy said. Those lights are not directed down the field. And we can shut all the lights out in our home. I invite you to come.
And I will come.
You're welcome. As soon as they turn back on, they light the whole inside of our house, and the beams come directly in. You can see them on the wall. They come directly into our home. And I'm sure that's the case of everyone on Red Twig. So they sold you a bill of goods here. It's not what those lights are doing at all. They're professional lights. You could make professional balls. It's way overkill. And I invite you to come to my home and see it when you turn the lights on in March. I don't think this is going to. The lights are already here, right? So that's not going.
It's not changing here. No.
Okay, just wanted to mention that.
We will talk early spring.
Thank you.
I know you visit prior to the leaves.
Right.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Stephen Whitty.
Stephen, please come on up, say your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Stephen Whitty, Glenwild Avenue. Why? Why do we need a walking field?
Why do we need a walking
path?
track?
Right. Do you know there's bear in that woods right there?
Sure, there's also 2
A
baseball.
lot of bears.
There's 2 baseball fields and 3
And
soccer
you've got a
fields.
path going right by all those bears. There's a lot of bears there.
Okay, but there's currently also 2 baseball fields, 3 soccer fields, and a tennis
Yes.
court.
Okay, but why?
Okay,
Why do we want a walking field?
can I answer your question?
Sure.
All right. This plan for Walter T. Bergen has been at least 10, 13 years in the plans, and including the walking track all along, so it's not something new. Why? I believe it is going to be an asset for the community. I believe it's going to allow people of all ages to enjoy the ability to walk without having to walk, where there's cars and streets and the like. If you ever go by Butler High School in any evening, you can see the amount of people enjoying that track. I think it's going to be a similar asset for our community. And people I've spoken to are very excited about it. So
I've talked to a couple of people, and they say, and I've talked to one lady who walks 5 miles in this town a day. She's just going to continue to walk the streets because she likes to walk the street. She doesn't like, most people, or same way riding a bicycle, doesn't like riding in a circle. But again, up there, why? Just because it's there? And just because we want to build a walking track? Let people go up to Butler High School and walk.
Well, and they do. I believe this, your question was why, and I think I answered it. But the primary reason
just because somebody wanted it years ago and it's been in the plans years ago, doesn't mean we have to do it.
I mentioned more than one reason, but I'll sum it up by saying because I believe it'll be an asset for the community.
No.
I appreciate your comment. Anyone else? James? Yes, Barry, 1 second. Yes.
Jim Hardy, 102 Red Twig Trail. I was just concerned when I initially heard about the walking track that it was going to be running on the western shore, which is downslope from Red Twig Trail. But I now noticed that it is not, and I'm very pleased because I know 30 years ago when my son played Little League on those fields, there was many times 2 or 3 inches of water in the outfield. So if it was on that side, I was going to say you have to have some kind of special drainage probably. So I'm glad it's not.
It's on the other side.
Yes.
But that special draining was done, had to be done, and has been completed. There was new perimeter draining installed, there was core aeration performed. That side of the field no longer holds to it.
Good. I haven't been there, to play ball.
You can almost ice skate on it. Well, he's not skating outside. Used to.
James Day, 29 Walter Drive. My question is, my road gets so bad with parking. The police come every Saturday, during a week, and they have a field day doing tickets. They could ticket 10 times more cars. My fear is that this is just going to add more, where you can't get in your driveway. That's how bad the parking has become.
No, and again, I understand that the parking by the cul-de-sac. And again, that's even pre-lights, even pre-track. That has always been a problem. We are talking with the traffic department about that issue, and I believe the answer is going to be eliminating entirely parking in the circle, and see if that helps the situation. But your point is valid, but it existed prior to lights and prior to track. I mean, will it bring more? Personally, I think most of your walkers are going to be people who are already participating at the field for an event, like soccer or baseball or something. It will bring more, but hopefully they can start utilizing, if we limit parking on Walter Drive to the front, they would park in the parking lot of the school, which is really where people should be parking. So that'll be focused on this spring. Keep an eye on it.
Mary Rooney, 180 Rapids Road. I just wanted to say thank you. I think it's a great idea to put the walking track up there. I do run the streets of Bloomingdale, and especially in this kind of weather, it's not really safe. So having a safe place to go and run, I really do appreciate it. So thank you very much.
And whether what we're going to try and clear,
Butler hasn't been clearing their track. I mean, it is the width where it could easily be plowed. So rubber track, you can't really special machines. We'll be able to plow it, but when you get winters with 60 inches, obviously it prohibits it. Anyone else? Just speaking to, yes. Mark, could you do me a
Mr. Can you move that chair and slide that mic out more towards you? So everyone was on this chair, move that out if you would. Just pull that mic so it's not between the table. So everyone was leaning. Thank you.
My question is this project already approved, or is this debating?
No, we have to, by March 14th, submit an application to the county for funding. So the governing body has authorized that application, and part of the application process is a public hearing. From the governing body's already 6-0 positive vote to submit the application, we will be submitting the application. We do want public input. The county ultimately decides the funding. Normally the award's given in September. And like I said, we've been successful. The open space tax that the county charges, we contribute, I think it's roughly about $100,000 from Bloomingdale goes to the county. And we usually get that, we average 75 to 120 annually in grants back. So we're confident we'll be funded, but ultimately the county will let us know in September. And if they deny it, then we try again.
Okay. Well, I'd just like to say that I support this 100% and hope that you go through it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
To this point, this is just one of many steps we have to take. I mean, this is just trying to get the money.
Right.
We still,
Right.
we got to get the money, we got to go out and bid, we got to, there's a lot of steps between that.
Right. I mean, ideally, again, though, we're confident, because we've been successful with county funding, that we will continue to be so. So until we get an award letter, I can't say we have it, but I'm confident we will.
Right, but if people think of other things about the track in the meantime.
Oh, absolutely. There's
still plenty of time to think about it.
And again, if this is all approved, I can't imagine it would even be billed out until spring of 2015. Yes, sir.
Jim Goodness from 18 Woodford Court. We're talking about obtaining a 100% funding grant from the county.
Yes.
Okay, what if they only come back with a 50% grant?
Again, we've been successful with 100% request. If they come back with less, then the council could decide if they want to go to the Rose Fund, which is the tax we pay locally, to fund a portion.
So your expectation is that it is going to be, it will be funded 100%, but if not, it still won't have any actual impact because you can obtain funding from some other source.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and town members. This is a $75,000 grant, is that correct? We're anticipating?
Your name for the record, for the clerk?
Jerome Kearns, you now.
Yes, sir, $75,000.
Okay, and I understand that the board members propose what to do with this $75,000 grant, correct?
Well, it's, right, we apply for a specific project.
Is there any way to propose several ideas to the residents of the community and have them kind of vote on what expenditures to spend the?
Well, if it was, this is a county source of funding, so for the council to do that, you would have to either have special elections, to do a public opinion vote, which costs quite a bit of money, or do it in a November general election, put in a ballot question, multiple choice, what we should apply for. I just think that would stifle the process. If we were to go in November of a given year, what should we do? And the application process begins January of the following year. I don't know, I think that would slow the process that we have to do to apply for funding sources, number one. And number two, this is why we have public hearings, though. And this is why we take input from our Recreation Commission. This is why we have a Recreation Open Space Commission to help the governing body with our own thoughts along to make these decisions. Again, I support going out for a specific referendum if you're looking to fund something with local money. But if it's going for funding sources to the county, I just think that becomes too cumbersome. And those are decisions, us and our committees who are in place to help us make those decisions, is how we should and how we are doing it.
Just to add to that, Jerome, you as a resident can attend a recreation meeting or a Rose meeting where residents are welcome to bring forward ideas and concepts that you want, and they will listen to it and vote on it and bring it forward. So,
sure. We
And if any ideas you have, you're welcome to share with us today too.
And I apologize, I'm just now getting the call.
No, it's great. And the next item on the agenda, and I hope you stay for, is we have a local open space tax. The pot of money we're applying for this track is the county's open space tax. We have our own. And we have a Rose Committee who, after we're concluded here, will present their recommendations for 2014. All the field maintenance, all the programs and options they're going to suggest to the governing body. They also have, by code, by law, 2 public hearings for public input to then bring their opinions back in their presentation in a moment. That board represents the Rec Commission, the Environmental Commission, the Planning Board, and then 2 residents at large to be the voice. So that's how it's done.
And just on the proposed motion now, just to simplify the options for myself, we have $75,000 and we can either build or renovate this track, or the $75,000 kind of goes away.
Right. Well,
so it would seem almost like a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer because it's totally funded by tax dollars we're already giving the county. If we, believe it or not, there's towns in St. Andrews who don't apply, which is just amazing. Because, you know, a town like ours puts $100 grand towards the county. Well, I want that back, and that's what we do each year. If we didn't get funding, which would be the first in the 10 years I've been involved in, you know, before being mayor, I was on the Rec Commission and councilman previously, where every year we got funding. If we didn't get funding, then it would just be given to other towns within the county or grow in their own surplus for future awards, the county awards.
Yeah, I can just add there. This is a good question, but from the point of information, it is a long process too. Like, this is the deadline that's coming up. And if you miss the deadline, you have to wait till next year's funding cycle. You don't get anything this year, and chances are you won't get 2 projects next year, you know, because you missed. And as the mayor said, and I was going to point out, there's a number of towns that, for some reason, they don't put in their application, or they haven't closed out enough grants from prior years, so they really aren't in good standing to get more grant funding. But you have a great track record at this point to get those grants. So I think, to your point, if you have a suggestion, there's a lot of different ways to make the request. But it's a long process too, because you get sort of what the cost is going to be. You also have to notice for the public hearing, you've got to put the grant application in, which a lot of towns struggle with. But it's a cycle that you have to comply with. So it's about as democratic as can be, because if you do anything more, chances are you may miss a cycle along the way. So.
And then the proposed deadline must be a project specific.
Yes, absolutely. Engineered, it has to be engineered, designed, and submitted to the county. And then the county has a public hearing, which I always represent and I present there as well. And anyone from the public can attend those meetings where they have a public hearing, not just on our application, on all the applications throughout the county. But to attorney's point a moment ago, I can list out the amount of, it's well over $500,000 in funding in the last 7-8 years. Every ball field, every playground has been funded by the county. Recent park improvement at Oakwood Lake funded by the county. And the state restrooms going in at the ball field. Stonework at one of our historic fields, all community, and I don't know if you've ever seen the Leisure Field in town. But every year the county calls and sees what you have outstanding. And I'm proud to say, out of all the funding we have from the county, we only have outstanding last year's award, which is kind of uncommon, where towns, have held, in the tune of a couple $100,000 on grants they got in 2004, 5, and 6. And the county started to pull that away, throwing it back in this town. So, we're good at getting it, and we're good at spending it.
Thank you. Sorry, just to go back to another point, it seems to be a major concern for some of the residents, the lighting issue with Musco. I know you said that a proposed solution could be Musco coming out and actually inspecting the area. Is there a formal complaint process or ways specific residents could be heard that are actually affected by this lighting, and could those be investigated, and could these Musco meetings be attended by residents that are affected by the flooding situation?
Yeah, well, there is a process, and when the lights were first lit last March, so it's a year, not even a year, they've been in place. And I guess one of the most direct processes is for people to call me. And as mayor, I responded to a number of resident complaints, visiting the sites and having Musco with our engineer revisiting, realigning, and the like. The second, the way, and I'm very public with my cell phone, and call me anytime, and people do. But our website also has a message system where if you have any complaint, issue, street light out, whatever it is, you go through the website, and that's sent right to me. So we're very responsive about it. But your question is, could we then schedule a meeting with Musco at the site? The answer is, how do we know? The answer is yes, we could. It's probably a good idea. So it will do. Yeah, it will do. Yeah.
And that would be encouraged for the members to attend as well.
Well, we'd have to inform, through our reverse 911 messaging system, everything.
Just publicize it at the town meetings and on the website.
And you would hope we would get a response. Yes, sure.
If we have specific addresses where they're complaining, that the person would have to bring it right to their house and say, this is what we're talking about, fix it.
And I have those already.
Yeah, I know. But Musco usually responds to.
Like I said, we're 7 months into having a light system and learning as we go. We have some work to do.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. How long have you been in town?
About 4 months.
Welcome. Okay. Anyone else? Seeing no one, have a motion to close. All in favor? Aye. All right, again, thank you. If you have any other questions, just contact me at the time. Okay, our next item is the presentation by our Rose Committee of our 2014 Rose Fund recommendations. And with that, we have a few members here. I'd like to introduce Jack Miller, if you would come up, and Karen Lavazetta, our 2 members, and Bob Lippy. You guys just come up to the dais and we'll review your report together.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We've, per ordinance, we had 2 meetings, February 6th and February 27th. All right, and with that, I'm going to save the way we discuss the fund allocation. I'm going to save that till the end. All right. The rec projects that we talked about was you guys are putting in for a grant for the bleachers at the Leisure.
Right.
If there's any excess there, that would be thought about the recommendation to come out of the Rose money.
Okay.
The same with the walking track. Okay. The scoreboards are on there, which they've been for the last couple years. All right. There's an upgrade and a repair to the basketball courts at the Leisure. This has been on there, I think, a couple years now. And straightening the poles, an extension, and removing the volleyball poles that are not in use there.
I think those have been removed.
Today.
Today? Yeah. I know the new backboards, the line, the painting was done, but with our new backboard, we could straightening out the issues we weren't able to do last year. Okay.
All right, and then install a minimum of 2 benches along the park side of the basketball courts at Bow Pond. There's nowhere to sit or anything. It's just a basketball court.
Which is something our DPW can do.
Right. Dog park. We threw around, I guess, in the rec commission also threw around maybe Sloan Park is a spot to consider for that. Just that'll bring people downtown, see downtown. Spend some time down there. Just a thought. Install lighting at the Walter T. Bergen batting cages.
Right, which, if I may, I've already spoken to the engineer. It would be simpler to have Butler Electric do an add-on, there's no charge, off of one of the telephone poles, rather than Musco retrofitting.
I think Musco's got enough to do.
Well, they won't add a light fixture lower on one existing pole, or this has to be like behind the lights. And from the comments here, I don't want to be pushing it, we're lighting towards Glenwell. So this will be done via Butler Electric, but it's on your recommendation, so it will be completed.
Okay, and the maintenance and repair of Walter T. Bergen, the tennis courts.
Yep.
Okay. Then you have your annual tasks for the DPW. I'm not going to read them one by one. Everybody sees, what they are. Then I'm going to go down to the I'm going to go to one here about the open space stuff. The Master Gardeners, I think last year we gave them $2,000 for plants and stuff like that.
Yes.
We also gave them free mulch and gravel that they needed. We'd like that to be there for them again. And then we recommended that the DPW do some cleaning in the back by the senior center. There's a wooded area back there, to open that up more or less for a more view of the river, or, you know what I mean, bigger area for people to go there and kind of see what's there.
Making more park-like.
Yes,
You do have to take the trees and brush and stuff down, or?
Minimum.
That's, yeah.
No pathway, no walkway.
I'm thinking of garbage.
No, actually.
They're talking about cleaning up the brush, and the recommendation was in the spring before it really grows in, was more manageable to do.
Yep.
We have to be careful with the stuff that we have for issues.
I think the distance we have, I'll have to check with the engineer before we do that. Yeah. No,
This is directly behind the senior center, right next to where there's existing gardens. They don't want to go too far to encroach on any areas where there might be a problem. The stick goes in the riverbank area.
And as Karen said, the thought was do it early, because once it gets overgrown, you can't, it's done.
Absolutely.
And then, which kind of caught me a little off guard.
Davy Crockett Park?
Yes.
The bird sanctuary.
And you know something? I have to say, kudos to my wife, because I told my wife about it. She knew exactly where it was, so, okay, okay. We recommend that maybe some signage there and define where it is. I know it's off of Clark Street, I think. I just don't know how you get in there. Nobody knew how to get in there.
I'll have DPW look at it. It was a piece of land before any of our time that was in tax sale, and it was just thrown down, took ownership of it, and made it a park. Quite honestly, I don't know the reason other than it was a bird sanctuary. There's a lot of birds there. There's also a lot of DPW visited. But as far as signage, yeah, possibly, I think there was one. I'll have to double check. But it's not much you can do.
From what I understand,
Hiking
it's
trails, that's the Missouri Park cars, Clark, one-way street. But
just a
I'll look at it
thought
this spring.
for the open space.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we said, you know, we'd like you to vote on the stuff individual, you know, however you just do it. And then lastly, the allocation of the funds. We decided that recreation 30, maintenance 30, discretionary 30, and 10% to open space. Any questions for us?
Does anyone have anything? I have nothing specific. A lot of it is repeat because of the maintenance item. So, and then some capital are new, some have been there. Funding may have prolonged that. But thank you all. And you know, Jack, just so that everyone understands, we have a 5-member commission. Jack is an at-large resident on there. Karen is the environmental commission rep, and Bob Lippy is our planning board representative. Tia Brady is an at-large resident, and Drew Julin, who's not with us either, is our rep member. So that's the layout of the commission, so the committee. So thank you very much for doing your due diligence and getting this done, because this is always timely. We need your submissions or approval to then move forward and actually spend money out of the Rose Fund. And with spring, I think, approaching, you can't quite tell with
probably June.
Snow, I don't know, it's not baseball. But a trout contest in 4 weeks, I think I'm going to put off till end of April because there's 20 inches of ice on the ponds.
It's just nice fishing.
So, but I thank you. I have no specific questions. You guys have anything else for us? That's it. With that said, again, I thank you. And while you're sitting there, I'd ask for a motion to accept the Rose Committee's recommendation for 2014. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, the only discussion I have is we hired an extra DPW worker this year, so we can attempt to cut the grass at North Bloomingdale and right or stop. And I know we need equipment, but if that's going to save us money, I would prefer to see.
Well, that's the plan. Yeah. I mean, the recommendation again is advisory, so that's a fund the new equipment. Move forward. Like I had said to you in passing that we may have to start the season and maybe just get a 3-week contract and get it going and close the yard down.
The transition going.
Right, exactly.
And the only other question I have is, the sod that we lay on the infield for football and soccer,
Yes.
I know football plays most of the games at the high school field now.
There's JV and varsity for football. Varsity has 2 games at the Leisure. JV last year, I think had a total of 12 games at the Leisure.
Because let me just say, the JV games tend to be more spur of the moment scheduled. So, and Glacier is much more available than Butler for the regular football program.
Yeah.
So, you know, they say, you know, but, yeah, on short notice, it's easier to get to Glacier.
I think a motion's done. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, again, there's a motion. Was there a second? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Well, do a roll call, please.
Councilmembers Costa.
Yes.
Demoto.
Yes.
Delariva.
Yes.
Hudson. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
Piasta.
Yes.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. And I'll keep the committee abreast of when meetings are completed. Jack, I'll send you emails. You know, this was done, this was fixed. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We have no non-agenda items. I need a motion for early. I'm sorry. No, I ended up not having a motion. That was the, yeah, we're not ready for that. Okay, motion for early public comment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Anyone wishing to speak to an agenda item, please come on up, take your name and address for the record.
Exactly, 86 Van Dam. For the Rose Fund, you're also going to be taking DPW salaries out of there again this year?
That is in the recommendations, yes.
Okay, so that wasn't addressed. The debt for the lights, that's coming out of there also?
Yes.
That's also the interest for the lights?
Well, I don't believe we're paying any principal yet, so just interest, yeah.
And also, who's paying electricity on the lights?
It did not come out of the Rose Fund last year. I think the total annual cost was $3,200, I think. We checked it out as. I know the plan was Rose Fund, so we'll revisit that.
Now, the plan was that it was going to come out of whichever organization was using the lights.
That was never voted on.
Yes, it was voted when I was on the council. That was when we made the decision to have the lights. It was agreed upon, and Mr. Diaz said, I'm more than willing to pay for that electricity for those lights.
It was voted on, it was made an ordinance and voted on by resolution.
The lights were going to be paid for by the organization that used them.
It was never a policy of the governing body. It was never made policy of the governing body.
It was addressed, it was
talked about, but never made policy.
So I guess, so they're not paying for anything.
They haven't to date.
They kind of running all this time, and it's the citizens are paying for the lights. The electricity on them.
As they are with the Leisure, as they are with streetlights, as they are with parks.
Streetlights are different.
They are.
Streetlights were only put up for that reason. I mean, it was agreed they were going to be paid.
That's where you misspoke. It was not agreed.
I was on council.
It was not agreed. Was it made a policy? Let me ask this, was it made a policy?
I think it was voted, I believe it was voted on.
No, you misspoke, but anyway, okay.
I believe it, Jane, you have Jane Chapman, I believe it was voted on.
Just for the record, something is carry over. Next meeting is to be or something, not a resolution.
Yeah, I don't think it was done by resolution, so. If anyone on the council wishes to discuss it at a later date, put it on the agenda. I'm not going to, I'll say it around the record, I'm not going to the youth groups to charge them electric on field use. And if the council wishes, we'll pursue it. But you need to advise those youth groups before their own budget process that you're going to do that. And, you know, Little League barely operates, already, football pays their bills. They're volunteer, nonprofit organizations that you may all disagree. I'll respect it, I'll debate you. I do not support it.
But it should come out of the Rose.
That I have no problem. But to answer someone's point, it did not last year.
No, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, it makes no sense to sit here, divvy up the money and say, hey, it's okay to spend money on turf because we don't want the kids to get hurt, but then to have them pay for the lights. Where do you draw the
That's like saying we're gonna charge the Golden Agers for the lights at the senior
Those
center.
lights were put
We're
in,
not gonna do
the
it.
lights specifically have on them that you can tell how much electricity was used for each individual using it, and that's why we had that put in there. That extra added item on the lights, that was why.
The lights are metered like anyway.
And that's, it was put on so you would be able to know which organization was using it, and they were gonna pay for it.
No, the lights are metered.
And they were gonna be paying for it.
Anyone else? Public, no public comment.
Linda Shortman, 2 West Shore Road. I'm sorry I couldn't be here for the Board of Ed presentation, but I couldn't avoid it. But I'd just like to ask Rich, who is the liaison, I don't want you to go through the whole thing. I've read about it.
Yeah, it is on the website.
As our representative, I just wanted to ask you personally if you would share your opinion of this referendum.
Yes, I believe personally it is a good idea, just because, I mean, it is planning ahead, and we get 40% broad grant from the state. At some point, I mean, those boilers are 40 to 50 years old. Their expected lifespan is about 50 years. So they're going to fail sooner rather than later. Like Mr. Hagel said, it could be 1 year, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years. But at some point, they're going to fail and they're going to have to be replaced. And basically, from what I can tell, the choices are we can pay it over 11 years, getting 40% back from the state, or we can wait until it breaks and then pay 100% of it ourselves, all in that 1 year. So it just seems, you know, fiscally, you know, I'd rather be paying $28 a month or whatever it winds up being per person over 11 years than have to, you know, $800,000 all in 1 year. Especially since, like I said, there's plenty of other infrastructure issues at the schools, just like everywhere else. So.
I know over the years they've discussed closing school. That is now.
That was actually discussed at last night's Board of Education meeting. I believe, how would I miss them? I believe they've come to the conclusion that the matter is too complex to work with volunteers. There's just too many moving parts. And that's why it hasn't really gone anywhere with previous committees that have looked into it. So they are getting, I think they have, I think that's what I was just even before this meeting, I haven't had a chance to look at it, a proposal for an actual feasibility study by an outside organization to say this is what you could do, this would save you money, or it wouldn't save you money, because obviously consolidation isn't going to save anybody money. There's no point in doing it. So, you know, there's only so much individual volunteers, you know, a lot of which aren't, you know, subject matter experts on the various parts of consolidation. So it'd be nice to have, and I think that's the direction the Board of Ed is going, to get a formal professional opinion on whether the consolidation makes sense or not. And then once that happens, I mean, obviously proceed based on what that study shows.
Okay, I just feel like I have to make a statement, and I have legal representation here. Sitting on the council and discussing spending almost $2 million on flooding, there was discussion, blah, 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 and vote, and we spent almost $2 million. But the Board of Ed cannot do that. They don't have the right, you know, if they're going to spend this money, they have to put it on a referendum, unlike a council. That's just the way the law is set up. The Board of Ed has to go out for capital expenditures. Could they have taken this out of their surplus if they had it?
Yeah. And you know, if I can say yes, because they spent $800,000 last year out of their surplus on Walton Turbine.
You can't bond money without the public.
Yeah.
Oh, we can.
Yes.
Who made that up? Anyway,
Yeah, that's consistency.
I don't think I want to know.
There's a lot. I don't remember if you were here last time when I was talking about who does their budget when.
Oh, that's true.
Linda, just to add to what Rich was saying, we met with Board of Ed. They actually invited us, and my number one question was, what are you doing here? And actually, it was a welcoming news that they want to partner with us to look at different concepts, and referendum was one of them. And could they have spent all the surplus and possibly get this under, and then have no surplus in case something was wrong? They possibly could have, but our recommendation was, since this doesn't, at least this was my recommendation to them, this doesn't impact us until next year, to bring your budget $89,000, which is the cost of the debt over 10 years, $89,000 under cap, and this way there's no, it's as if you took your budget to cap, right? So bring it under that, and it's a net zero to our residents. But in addition to that, the conversation was around what are we looking at so we don't have these big expenditures coming up for 3 schools in this town. And it was welcoming to hear that they're willing to fund a study, a professional study, to look at ways to close down one of the schools and save us a couple of bucks. So,
What are their surpluses?
their surplus, I think George said it's almost 800,000, 790 something.
It was close to $1 million, but then as Rich said, they spent capital.
Right, they had $1 million the previous year. Yeah, they spent, well, there was more than just the roof, but I mean, the roof was obviously an $800,000 expenditure and completed its fair.
Sounds like more than that.
Okay, well, you had it on there.
Thank you.
You switch my hat.
You don't wear that. I'm used to that.
I get to take the smile.
Now I wear that. Yes, how are you?
Hello, I'm Diana Bussey, 28 Rebound. I haven't been home since 5:30, so I just want to bring this up now and I have to run. I have some very strong concerns about the ordinance for the clearing of fire hydrants. We bought our house in 1980, and we've always tried to maintain, it's the corner of Reeve and Oak, and it seems to be a real dumping ground for the way it plows down the hill, down Pleasant View. And we've always maintained the property, we've always kept it clear, and it was common sense that we always took care of the fire hydrant, as well as clear paths for the male people and so forth. But reading this, and I really wanted to be informed more on it, I don't feel where it should be mandatory as a homeowner to have to take care of the fire hydrant. I wonder what type of legal concerns that it would cause if there were an issue in the neighborhood and we had not cleared out the fire hydrant and someone's house burnt down. Can I be sued as a homeowner?
No, Diane, I'll stop right there. The ordinance is for obstruction of a fire hydrant. No person shall in any manner obstruct or prevent free access to. So if fallen snow or plowed snow hides that hydrant, you're not the one obstructing it. Okay, if you shovel your sidewalk and bury it, then we can knock on your door. Okay, this is not making it mandatory for you to shovel your fire hydrant. It's saying you cannot obstruct it in any way. Now, we're doing this because you'd be amazed how many people do shovel snow and bury their fire hydrant. So it gives us a little accountability to address those. We do hope by having it in the forefront, and when we send on our social networks and website and reverse 911 about clearing fire hydrants, we can reference an ordinance number and hopefully give it accountability so people can help the fire department in the clearing process. It's not by law or making you liable in any way to do that. Ultimately, our fire department is going to clear them. But if our residents can clear 30% of that, God bless them, and it's going to help our volunteer fire department. So just to be clear, it's saying no person shall obstruct a hydrant. That's what the ordinance is about.
But, so therefore, which what happened the last time, it was really unusual with the amount of snow, and then it turned to ice. It was like an iceberg.
But you didn't cause the obstruction.
Okay, so there's no way we would be fined or sued or...
If you were caught, if a resident was caught shoveling snow and burying a fire hydrant, then, yeah, you will be summoned.
Okay.
If I may, Councilman Motto mentioned, I think at the last meeting, we did have a resident that purposely buried a fire hydrant, and that's a problem.
Get to the fire hydrant, but that's obstruction.
That's what we're talking about.
Burying 60 feet.
We also want to bring attention to that and the obvious limit. If you have one that can handle it, please do. The one you're referring to about you, I mean, obviously, the fireman
You know,
eventually,
the corner. Yeah.
the fireman eventually cleared that one, or you?
We did. Eventually, a neighbor came over. Our snow blower broke, and the ice was so bad, we have somebody that's young across the street. He chopped away and was able to clear out that area. But I know the fire department had come around checking, but it had already been done.
Right, well, we appreciate that.
So I just wanted to clear, be sure on that.
So we're not putting the onus on you for having to do that. We hope people can help us do that. This isn't deliberately causing obstruction.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else to the agenda item?
Yeah, Jack will revamp. I was going to bring this up in the public part of that ordinance, but being Diana's here, I'll bring it up now. I have a couple questions on that. Legally, Mr. D'Amato said last meeting that they tried to pursue this years ago, and legally they couldn't do anything.
No, they tried to pursue an ordinance that made you responsible for shoveling it.
Okay, made you, not this
That's not what we're
obstruction.
doing here.
Okay, now, here's my question. We say obstructing within 2 feet is gonna be the ordinance. Who's to say, if you don't see me putting the stuff there, that it wasn't me? I know I'm reaching, but what happens, and I'm along with her, if God forbid something happens to a house on the street, okay, and it happens to me, and that hydrant, it was something, whatever, and I lose my house, knock on wood, I lose my house, there's an ordinance here that says you're responsible for that.
You answered your question. If we cannot be proven that you caused the obstruction.
But I could still sue you, and you have to prove it. If I go, there's an ordinance in town, listen, there's an ordinance in town that says you can't obstruct that. I'm gonna say you did. I lost my house. I lost my house.
You could attempt to sue the borough whether you have an ordinance or not.
Absolutely, so why would we even put this in there? Why wouldn't we leave it just the way it was? Do the best you can to clear it out. So you're gonna ride around, the guy in Hillside, you're gonna sit there when it snows, and you're gonna wait for him to plow it in, and then you're gonna give him a summons. You're not gonna do that. You're not gonna do that. So how are you gonna maintain this or do this?
This just brings accountability to the topic, which didn't exist prior to this.
Understood. The accountability should be there before you even put this in there.
But it's not.
I should take care of that.
Correct. Now this gives us.
Is that town property?
This gives us.
Is this town property? This fire hydrant?
Yes.
Is it in the right of way of the town?
Yes.
It's the town's responsibility, no?
We're not saying that.
Is it the town's responsibility?
It's the town's responsibility.
We're not saying you have to shovel it.
No, you are. You're saying you have to maintain it.
No, we're saying you do not obstruct it.
Don't interfere with
You don't want
public
your
property.
pile of snow on top of your snow shovel.
Understood.
And that falls out of the
It's not
sky.
just snow.
And I told you last meeting when I was here. I told you last meeting when I was here.
Yep.
We clear it out. The snow plows plowed it.
Right, but that's
We
not-
clear it out. The snow plows plowed it. Why do we have to have an ordinance to say, don't obstruct it? It's common sense.
Jack, real
It's
simple.
common sense.
So is speeding. I mean, come on.
Jack, real
Why do we have
simple.
speed limits?
Come on,
It's
man.
common sense.
The
Don't
guy
do
Listen, I don't have one in front of my house, but this kind of tips me off.
Don't do 60 and
No,
30 fine. It's common sense.
Mayor,
Jack,
to me,
when I gotta sit there, it takes 6 feet into a thing to uncover a hydrant, that ticks me off.
Absolutely.
All right?
And
So
the
this is-
DPW does
This is
that.
going to help us
That's fine.
take care of that whole.
No, I'm saying, the DPW put it 6 foot out there.
No, not this one.
No. In front of my house, and next door neighbor, how far out was the snow?
I don't know.
6 feet.
And house,
6 feet.
The house I'm talking about, you can see the plow right from the driveway. Boom.
So you mean to tell me, there's nothing in there that you can get that guy for until you put this in here? There's nothing you can go after that gentleman for without this in there?
I think it'd be very difficult, and I think you have to think about what Councilman D'Amato just said. If you were to ask the fire department if we could help, there's some way we can help support their position. This is one way to get it out there, because you're thinking of, and I understand the practicality, the customary issues, the plowing, but there's other circumstances that occur that we can't even imagine that can interfere with that hydrant. And it's better to have this out there, because if we get in a situation where we really have to step in and do something, at least you have that legislation there. You're not hearing that we're gonna sit out there and watch everybody.
And that was said last meeting.
And it's not,
I get that.
and it's not just snow. It's leaves, it's garbage. Someone puts out furniture for garbage and buries a fire hydrant. It's obstruction of a hydrant.
I get what you're getting at, but isn't there another form to do it? You do your reverse 911, you do all that stuff. Isn't there another way to do it than doing it this way?
Probably still do reverse 911 because it's that important.
Listen, I was a fireman for years. I get it. I get it. You don't want to do that. And people, I can't understand how people don't get it, okay? This shouldn't have to go in there for that.
I agree with you, but
it is.
Just think hard. I know how you're going to vote for it, but just think hard about it before you put it in there.
Jack, you run a fire department?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the fire department that you're on goes with the request, as ours did, to the governing body, to Fred's point. What can we do to help? You guys are digging 600 fire hydrants out. Hey, can we get some protection in place? Oakland has it, where, we can do a law to stop people from obstructing. Sure, it'll be done in 2 meetings. Adopted tonight. That's why we're doing this, to help our volunteer fire department.
Okay, so then, why don't we say that?
That's exactly. I have said.
Listen,
Why else are you doing it?
Listen.
I said that last week. I said that last meeting.
Listen, I was in the fire department. We didn't need fire hydrants. We could trap water. Okay? Different beast. Different beast. All right? If you obstruct a fire hydrant,
if your draft site was all blocked off by somebody plowing snow into between you.
I'd be pissed. Okay? I don't know. This is a peeve of mine. It seems that we're putting it all on the homeowner.
No,
Okay?
We're saying don't obstruct. If
Fine.
it said you're responsible 24 hours to shovel out your hydrant, I agree
You're
with you.
telling me I have to do it within
Doesn't
12
say-
hours.
Don't obstruct it, and if you do, you gotta clear it.
So the town obstructs it,
No.
I gotta clear it. That's what you just said. That's what you said.
No person shall obstruct a hydrant, and if obstruction exists, if the town causes it, the fire department's ultimately gonna clear it. Okay? Right. Because the town, grade 20, town property, go up. We're just asking for assistance. We're giving a mechanism that allows us to enforce if someone is plowing in, for example, or storing garbage on, etc. You're right, it's common sense, shouldn't have to happen. It shouldn't have to happen.
There's a lot of people in town, you can drive by, it's done, it's beautiful, but then there's the other, that it's completely bare.
Okay, all right.
So we're gonna complete it, we're gonna go out and clean them out.
No matter what.
I've been here 35 years doing it, all right? We're gonna continue doing it for the next whatever amount of years.
Okay.
But, in certain circumstances where it's deliberately blocked, why you would want to block a fire hydrant in front of your own house, your own safety, and put the jeopardy beyond me? Well, okay. Is there a lot of it?
You should see the guy on the hillside.
So then my question,
You should see the guy on the
my
hillside.
real
He had his plow
legitimate question is,
right in
they
there.
can't come back
Now it's
after
froze,
a
and you can't get
homeowner,
in.
God forbid, there is something that happens. Fire, where they need to get to the hydrant. It's winter time. I would imagine summertime, they're gonna get to it anyway. But winter
To
time.
me, it's no different if we pull off the hydrant's dead, for whatever reason.
Exactly. So I'm just looking for resident-wise, if this goes in there, the resident is not gonna be responsible. God forbid something happens.
I don't see much difference.
I mean, you
whether
can
the
see a
ordinance is
plow
there or
delivered.
not. Somebody
It
can
wasn't
always
shoveled,
try to drive
it was
back to the
plowed.
hydrant issue. And I don't think this is going to make a difference in that type of scenario.
Okay, I'm looking from a legal standpoint, more or less, that nobody can come back. My house, I lose my house, the hydrant next door wasn't there, that I realistically can I go after that homeowner? Yeah, in the real world, absolutely, I can go after that homeowner for whatever reason, because people sue for whatever reason. But there's nothing, when this gets signed, that says he's responsible for that.
The only thing I'd say is like what Councilman Devano said, if somebody's doing something deliberate, whether we have the ordinance or not, they are going to be held in some court of law potentially responsible.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't see that this ordinance would make that difference.
Okay. That's where I'm looking from, a legal standpoint, if you're gonna be
We're pretty much
responsible.
out there within 24 hours of the storm, the rest of the department getting cleaned out. I mean, we did it twice this year, we're out there within 24 hours, the storm's over, we're out there, they're still moving out.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? This is still public comment. Seeing no one, motion closed. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, any reports? Jane, you have anything for us?
Nothing other than obviously the special election next Tuesday. The polls are open from 2 to 9. And the county will be here on March 20th for anyone that needs a passport or veterans ID. It's on the website.
11 to 2, I believe. 11 to 2. Okay, thank you, Fred. You have anything for us?
Mayor, we're going to do the manager supervisor training on the 21st. And also, we're going back over the foreclosures, and I'm going to ask the collector if we want to add any other properties so that we can do this all at once.
Good.
So that's fine.
All right, great. Any council person? Okay, I have nothing this evening. Moving along, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, approval of minutes for work session February 4th and regular meeting February 18th. Who makes that motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pending business. Second final reading of public hearings 2/2014 to prevent the obstruction of fire hydrants. With minor amendments, we did not have to re-advertise. It was changing the distance from 5 foot to 2 foot, simply because 5 foot will put you in some roadway areas, and just condenses that piece there. Just some grammar errors, correction. So, public notice statement, please.
Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was posted in Mr. Rowling, published in Herald News, copies of the motion may be made and be read by title.
And who makes that motion? So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
An ordinance of the Borough of Bloomingdale in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 20, Streets and Sidewalks, Article 1, Sidewalk, Section 20-2, removal of grass, weeds, snow, and ice, Section 20-2.1, snow, ice, grass, and weeds, to be removed at the Code of Borough of Bloomingdale to prevent the obstruction of fire hydrants.
Thank you. And who makes a motion to open public hearing? All in favor? Anyone wishing to speak to ordinance 2/2014? Except Mr. Miller. Seeing no one, motion to close. So moved. Second. All in favor? And who moves to adopt? So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers D'Amato.
Yes.
Del Rippe.
Yes.
Hudson. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
New business. Who moves resolution 2014 3.1, requiring all borough employees to be compensated by direct deposit only? Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Just legislation was passed and approved by both houses the end of last year, requiring direct deposits for all state employees, and allows county municipalities and local school districts to opt in as well. So we are doing so, and it will be a administratively smooth process for our finance department. A small cost savings in producing paper, and primarily it's a processing issue. You know, we go through the audit process. There's some checks not cashed. Believe it or not, payroll check is just going to make life easier. So this is why we're doing this. So all employees, seasonal, full-time, everyone will be paid direct deposit as a policy. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Del Rippe.
Yes.
Hudson. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
And now, who moves resolution 2014 3.2, authorization to make our tax office assistant Brianna Calabro a permanent status? Who makes that motion? And discussion?
This will be involved up there as well.
Not as much as I wanted to last year, but the goal is for 14 for more involvement, yes. And I think with our CFO, new CFO in, will just help that process, training ability, make it easier. Rave reviews from Barbara Neinstadt, her immediate superior, and Brian Townsend, the tax assessor, and myself. Brianna has worked wonderful, very helpful, and great asset to the borough. So, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Hudson. Yes. Sondemire.
Yes.
Yasti.
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
D'Amato.
Yes.
Del Rippe.
Yes.
Just for the record, that was not a new hire. It was hired last year. It was just a permanent status probation period. It was over. I need a motion to authorize road closure at Emerald Turnpike and the roads necessary for the Little League Parade. Who makes that motion?
So moved.
Which will be April 12th.
Didn't ask.
Could be a sleigh ride. We'll see. Sorry, motion by Yash, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Rich. Any further discussion? We will notify county and I'll work with our PD on closure. Roll call, please. Actually, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Who makes a motion to move public comment?
So moved.
All in favor? Anyone wishing to speak to any item, please, come on up.
Jack Miller, revamp.
The laugh. Like your head, like
Listen, now I got that other thing off my chest, I'm good now.
you feel better.
Question. We approved Mr. Fitzpatrick to come in
Yes.
for a couple days to do
Yes.
snow removal. Question for you. Why was Johnny Ball here?
Okay, DPW, our meeting was on Tuesday to bring in Fitzpatrick Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Fitzpatrick was not able to come until Friday. So after 2 days from our meeting, Al Gallagher, DPW superintendent, actually called Bolter Landscaping, who did the clearing on Compton Lakes, Main Street, and he and Johnny Ball both
That's who I saw too.
came into town to give us 1 day. Fitzpatrick then came Monday and Tuesday. So we didn't exceed the approval, but Bolter did 1 day with Paul, and Fitz came then Monday, Tuesday.
How did we make out? Because I walk pretty much the flats, and it seemed like some, like down by your house and by Linda's house, there was like one clear, you know what I mean? It was
We cleared
sporadic.
spots on Van Dam
Yeah.
for
I thought they
primarily.
did a great job, because I actually traveled most of the roads
They did.
after
They
the
did.
first 2 days, and, yeah.
Right, storm drains are clear.
Actually, it was
Van
down
Dam,
there.
they see some turnoffs.
We only did the drains.
Go look at the senior center parking lot.
Yeah, I would imagine, because they were by the corner by me for quite a while doing it. But I just,
They're still,
I
just
was,
our guys.
right, I was looking to see, was it beneficial to do that for the 3 days to get everything opened
We didn't
up?
get the rains particularly,
Got,
but
good thing.
yeah, still, money well spent.
Okay.
Money well spent. Just to put it in perspective, you brought it up. To date, our total snow removal, salt, including subcontracted labor, overtime, $143,613.74. It's about $95,000 over budget.
Right.
Spent about 50.
How we would solve.
We got 160 ton last week from our normal vendor. When we pay bills next week, you'll see Johnny Ball's bill will be higher when you add it than the 62 approved because he got us salt. He was able to get salt from a vendor when we were out. So he got us 22 tons or 60 or 44 tons or something.
Get you through in case we had that.
We did. No, it was more than, what we paid through our co-op, but we were out. And then, of course, Murphy's Law, we got that. And then 3 days later, our international order came in, half of our order, 160 ton. So right now in our salt shed, 167 ton.
How much storms could that get you?
4 or 5 storms.
Four or five more? What's that? Okay, November. Okay, good thinking.
Anyone else?
Linda Huntley, 86 Van Dam. Hiring Johnny Ball, and he is your client, that still is an issue.
Actually, for the record, he's no longer my client.
So if I ask for an insurance certificate, who does he have? It's still ADP or whatever it was?
No. He does not, and I don't know who he has. But he could go for a certificate. It won't be ADP or, never was John, though, maybe, but.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, he recently moved on. But I didn't hire him.
Well, as borough administrator, it has to go through you, all it's through the borough administrator.
On an
correct?
emergency basis, Al Gallagher hired Bolter Landscaping. Yeah, Johnny, but again, that was done by our superintendent.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Maybe shortly to West Shore. Just a point, maybe you can't answer this, but maybe you can find out for me. Last year, we passed a resolution for parking permits over the winter.
Yes.
People could buy these permits.
Yeah, I think less than 20 people.
Can they park in this kind of winter?
No, it allowed them to park when the roads are not covered with snow.
Basically, they could.
Well, no, technically, if it's not snowing, they can park. Now, people have been, smarter about it, and at least have had to enforce some where they parked on the road overnight. But it's caused a dangerous situation because of the narrowness of the road. So I think it was less than 20 were pulled. Technically, they would be allowed to park overnight. It's not snowing out, and hasn't been a problem.
If it's not snowing out, yeah, I can understand.
Roads covered with
The
snow.
winter like this with piles and feet of ice, I still don't think they should be permitted to park
But
now.
that's a police department policy and enforced by them. So if someone who has a permit was parked causing a dangerous situation, the police would absolutely have them.
But you don't know of any instances
I do
that
not.
that's happened?
Nope.
We actually met with Joey, if there wasn't any complaints, we met with Joey about that. It's working.
It was less than one.
It's not that many, but the people that are using it like it, haven't had one complaint that the situation with the snow being out so far. They've been really working with Joey back and forth. If there's any problems, Joey's not to the order, to take care of them, or his guys, I should say.
Anyone else? Seeing no one, motion to close?
So moved.
Okay, I need a motion for executive session where we have one matter of negotiation, two potential litigation. No action will be taken after it. Governing schedule, again, election, March 11th, school board, regular meeting, March 18th. Work session, April 1st, all 7 p.m. And motion for executive? So moved.
Second.
There will be no action after I stated in the record. Second, all in favor? Aye.